Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is me, Jonathan Alexander, and here to host my show, Life After Happiness. Today, we have someone returning to the show named Karen Page. Are you there, Karen?
I'm right here, Jonathan. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good now that you're here. You know, I named the show, I said the show, this would be return to the show to answer some questions I had. This is what I wanted to ask you. You know, on election night 2016, I think as everybody else did, saw the results came in, but I'm not psychic, you are. And I was just curious to know, what does a psychic feel like on election day when she sees something like what happened on election day? Like, what was going through your mind? I mean, were you feeling anything? Did you have any visions or anything when all this?
Not during the day, because I hadn't even thought about it. It would have never entered my mind that they would steal the election and give it to this guy. There was no, not even a remote thought.
But I mean, like, say, when you saw him in Florida, when you saw him in Ohio.
No.
What were you thinking?
Jonathan, no. Because he didn't, this is not a legitimate presidency. He did not win the presidency.
Okay, we understand that's how you think that. Now, how do you think that happened? Do you know the how behind that, or do you sense some of the how?
Well, I say it jokingly, but I always say that the reason that he got the electoral vote is because the people were threatened by having, with pictures of them doing it with donkeys in the basement of their house or something. I mean, I say it jokingly, but I think either their families were threatened or they were threatened or something, because I know he did not win this election legitimately. And you remember what I'm telling you now. I said this from the day they shoved him down the country's throat. He will rue the day that he decided to step into this arena. And he is going to try, first of all, he's going to have a public meltdown in front of the camera. And, I mean, completely lose it. And then he's going to try and walk away. And he will wind up, first of all, Hurricane Bob is about to hit Washington, D.C., and he will never survive this, and neither will any of his family.
Now, when you say Hurricane Bob, are you talking about a little hurricane or Robert Mueller?
No, I'm talking about Bob Mueller.
Oh, okay. I take it you have a high opinion of Bob Mueller?
Well, you know what? I have great respect for him. I think he's trying to do his job. And I think that there are things that are going to come out about Trump and the Trump organization and all of these charming people that he has surrounded himself with throughout the years that will absolutely stun people.
What do you think about Omarosa?
I think she's an opportunist, but what she's saying now is absolutely true. He is a racist. He is self-serving. He has no respect for anybody, and whatever else she's saying. However, she was an opportunist, and when it was something that was positive for her, she went and leapt on it. You don't
think she's going to get anything out of it, though? I mean, do you think that she's going to wind up getting hurt?
Oh, no. Oh, no. My gut feeling is that as far as they're concerned, she's insignificant.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think Trump will survive the rest of his presidency married?
Did you say married?
Married. Like, will he stay married to Melania?
Well, I know you're going to laugh at me, but I think that they've already been divorced, and this is a business arrangement.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But why do you say that?
Well, I've felt that for a long time. I believe that they are legally divorced and that this is a business arrangement.
She, see, this is the thing. Now, I don't. I know that we're supposed to talk about Trump, but I mean, did you think that the Clintons had sort of a joke marriage too?
No, I don't. I think that in the beginning they got married because they actually, first of all, they're both incredibly smart people. And I think that they had a lot in common. And over the years, I mean, forgive me, but who in the world would want to live in that political environment? I don't think this was the big love affair of each other's lives for the Clintons.
But what I'm trying to say is that
I know what you're saying. This doesn't feel like a business arrangement to me.
Okay.
It feels like they got married because they loved each other. Is it in the conventional, ooh, baby, I'm mad about you and I can't live without you? No. But did they get each other? Do they love each other? Is there a mutual respect between them? Absolutely. These are both complicated people.
Do you think Hillary will run in 2020?
I'm sorry?
Do you think Hillary will run in 2020?
No, I think she's so over it. Because
really?
I think that trust has been breached, and she should have won. And she knows she should have won.
That trust has been breached? Trust with who?
With the system, the election system.
You know, I mean, I think that what's interesting about the Electoral College is that
pretty obsolete.
Well, you know, it's sort of weird, you know. I mean, it's like once you figure out, like, it's sort of weird to explain to people, like, well, you know, when you run for mayor, the one who gets the most votes gets to be mayor. If you run for governor, the one who gets the most votes gets to be governor. You know, but then you
run for president, and then this handful of people don't care how many people voted for them. Right.
I mean, this is what I would do differently. And just so you know, before I tell you my idea, just so you know, under my system, Hillary Clinton would have won, and so would Al Gore. I would take 2 electoral votes from each of the 50 states. Then I would put it in like a pool of 50 electoral votes. Then I would say, same election night, same rules, 270 votes to win, but 50 of those electoral votes goes towards the person who wins the popular vote. Now, I calculated it up. Al Gore wins, and so does Hillary Clinton. I think the reason why people argue for the Electoral College is they say that we're not a democracy. We're actually a representative republic. We're not really a true democracy. If we were a true democracy, we would vote on everything, you know, but we're not a democracy because democracies, the majority wins all the time. And, you know, it's we can't just vote on everything, you know. My idea would, one, it would treat us like states, for one, and two, it would also treat us like a country. You know, I mean, it would, but I think that's probably going to happen. Because, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah. What I think is probably going to happen with Trump is that the problem is that other politicians like Clinton and, you know, all the other ones, they have been I think we talked about this before the break. You know, they always say you need experience, but nobody really says why.
Well, wait. I have to say something, okay? And I didn't get a chance to explain it to you earlier. I've always believed that diplomatic experience, is at the very top of the list. Trump has 0 diplomacy. He respects no one. He doesn't believe anybody can do anything better than he can. And he has 0 respect for anybody's expertise and doesn't play well with others. He has alienated and badmouthed every one of our allies. And you can't be well, first of all, he will never see the end of this presidency.
What do you see happening?
Well, I told you, I think he's going to have a public meltdown because the escalation of things, and I've been waiting for this. I have a birthday coming up very shortly at the end of the month. And
really?
Yes, and I expect that this is going to continue exploding, and I've been waiting for it. And I think there are going to be some things that are going to come out that, and it's already bad enough, okay, but things that he absolutely is mortified that he has the exposure in it, because his worst nightmare is being exposed for the fraud that he is. And all of these things that are going to come out, I mean, and a lot has, but I'm talking about something that is his worst fear.
You know,
and
actually,
let me just finish.
Sorry.
And that public meltdown is going to be the precursor to him trying to walk away and saying, I don't need this.
Okay, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Tell you something funny that my father told me.
Oh, and Pence will never be in office, by the way.
Okay, well, let me tell you something that's interesting. My father, he doesn't have a big opinion of Trump, but one of the things that he told me was, and I'm not telling you all the facts because I don't really remember this, but Trump brags sometimes about how many floors are in one of his buildings. I think he brags like it was about 110. But the thing that's so funny is what he did on one of his buildings was he numbered the first floor something like 40. And
I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
and then he would, he started the first floor. You start the first floor, it was 40, and then he
oh
would
my
go
God.
Up, and then he would move up. I think it's like 100. I don't know where this. I'll ask my father where it is, but
He's delusional.
And,
it goes back to the Richard Pryor line. Are you going to believe what I'm telling you, or are you going to believe your lying eyes? It's like, seriously.
He's just so funny that he did that, and I'm like, but see, the whole problem is that I think this is one of the things I'm wondering about. Why you're saying we've been saying every president. I think the only president that has never had the old impeach this person's phrase thrown at him, and my memory has been Jimmy Carter. Everybody else, we talk about them being impeached and everything. The only difference, though, between Trump and that is experience. These guys, they know how to avoid it. It's like...
It's not avoiding it. It's that they have diplomatic skills. This is a guy that calls everybody names. He tries to insult people. And forgive me, he is stupid. Okay? He's just stupid. This is a guy that doesn't read. You can't have a conversation with him. He has no interest in learning anything because he thinks he knows everything.
Well,
wait 1 second. And when I'm telling you that he has the meltdown and he tries to walk away, okay, it is over for him. Legally, he will, the entire Trump organization and the entire facade that he has created is going to completely explode. And all of them are going to have, there are legal implications for this. And there will be very few of the Republicans surrounding him that will be left standing.
Well, they're calling it the Trump Party, and I guess when Trump goes away, then there's no party now, right?
Well, it's not only that. It feels like they have no idea the depth of information that Bob Mueller and his team have found over this last almost 2 years.
Now, people might say, just to play devil's advocate, they may compare this to the Monica Lewinsky thing, and they may
no,
compare
this is not even remotely the same. You're talking about the security of the United States, okay? And he's been in.
I was talking about the Stormy Daniels, is what I was.
Oh
talking
no,
about.
no, that's not. They're not even remotely the same. Okay, I'm talking about national security.
Okay.
And Trump has been in bed with Putin for years because he's been trying to get a footprint in Russia. And he's been trying to do business with them and cozying up to his buddy Vladdy for a decade and a half or more.
Now, I'm curious. I mean, okay, this is another thing I wondered about. If the Russians interfered in the 2016 election, will they try it on the 2018 one?
Well, I think they'll try, but there is a big difference this time. The people weren't aware of that going on in 2016. They didn't realize the impact of it, and it sounded ridiculous at the time. But the reality is now things are much more sophisticated, and there are many more safeguards in place. And when people are made conscious and they're aware, it changes everything.
Now, do you feel that the voting booths were hacked, or do you feel that they just went into Facebook?
No, I think they did a lot of things that we will not be privy to for a long time. But eventually it will all come out.
But when it does come out, do you think it's going to be that the voting machines are hacked?
I want to say in certain places it feels like they were. But it does not feel as a general rule. Because each state, you know.
What I find, it's just, I think what I find is back what I said in the beginning. I don't know if I've said this yet on the show, but I'll say this to you again. On election night, okay, by election night, usually there's no surprises on election night.
Oh, right. You and I talked about this.
Yeah, we come to grips with what's going to happen. Like, I remember when it was 1984 and it was Reagan versus Mondale. I mean, I think you knew that Mondale wasn't going to win. You were okay. I mean, it's not that you were happy with him, or
but that's not the point.
Right.
The writing was on the wall, and it was very clear. Okay?
Right. Now
people that really do pay attention to what's going on in the country and the things that impact them and their children and their families and health care, and the list goes on and on, okay? We all pay attention to the election process, okay, and who is going to do the best for everybody. I always say there's a reason it's called United States, okay? We're all in this together, okay? So even the remote thought that somebody as ill-equipped he's filed bankruptcy 4 times. Can you imagine how outcome of this was with the reality of what was going on?
Now, let me ask you this. On election night, there are some people that say that Hillary Clinton was violent and she was throwing things.
Oh,
do you think that's
I don't believe that at all.
What do you think happened?
I think she probably said, I'm done. This is ridiculous. I'm done. Because she knew she won the popular vote. She won by over 5 million votes, Jonathan.
And I think she got more votes than anybody else. I mean,
yes.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, because let me tell you, this is something I have. It's a theory about why we haven't had a woman president. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but, okay, well, first of all, I think it's fair to say that qualified men who can run for president there are just as many qualified women who could run for president as there are qualified men.
Yes,
who could run for
I
president.
agree with
Okay.
that.
Yet, for some reason, haven't you noticed that whenever a woman runs for president, nobody else in her party runs? I mean, in the Republican race in the year 2016, there was one woman and 16 men.
Mm-hmm.
In the Democrats, there was 6 men and one woman.
Yep.
In 2012, there was one woman. That was Michelle Bachmann. See the pattern here?
I do.
In 2000, it was Hillary Clinton and about 7 men. Now, there's something wrong, okay? I think that what I've seen is whenever, and I think this goes for both parties, this isn't just Democrat or Republican, it seems that the women are afraid to compare themselves to each other. They're afraid to, like, if you'll notice, they ask.
I disagree with that. I know what you're saying, but I disagree with that.
Can you explain why more women don't run against each other? Why does that happen?
Well, I think I'm going to step back here, okay? The day that, and I had nothing but the utmost respect for John McCain.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I didn't care what party he was. He was a classy guy, and God rest his soul. He tried to unite people and bring people together. Okay. However, when he ran for president and he picked as his running mate Sarah Palin, okay, who, God forgive me and excuse me, is dumb as a sack of hammers, not to insult the hammers.
Right.
I looked at them and I said, and they invited the Tea Partiers in. I said, that is the end of the Republican Party as any of us ever knew it. Because you were talking about, if you look at all that the Tea Partiers embodied, they said all of the things that the Republicans would never give themselves permission to say, because the Tea Partiers had no experience, and they could just say whatever they wanted, because there was no propriety, or they didn't understand the politics of diplomacy, and they said these absolutely horrifying things. So working across the aisle, that just got completely blown out of the water. It was either my way or the highway.
Right.
And that started the day that Sarah Palin showed up and the Tea Partiers were represented. Because if we look back, did they always, the two parties agree on things? No. But there was a civility to it.
Right.
There wasn't this need to turn it into us and them. There really was, we were all in it together. And let's figure it out and work it out. But since the Tea Partiers came in, there has been absolutely no, they blocked everything Barack Obama tried to do. Everything.
But that, I want to get back to my original question of why you feel there hasn't been more women running against each other.
Well, I'm going to get to that. Okay. If you look at the women that have, first of all, this is I always look at this and I go, who in the world would want that job? Okay?
Right.
It's horrifying. You are literally naked in front of the world. You do not have one moment of privacy. You can forget about going to the market to buy avocados or something. Forget it.
Yeah.
Your life is over. You have all of a sudden become naked in front of the world. And you have to have a backbone of steel. Your family really has to come second, third, fifth on the list of things that are important.
They didn't ask for these things, and they're being thrown out into the limelight.
Yeah, but I have to say something, okay? That's the nature of the beast. That's the job. It's the most powerful job in the country, okay? It's making decisions that will impact generations of people, okay? And, yeah, I think to myself, my God, a lot of people can't figure out what shoes they want to wear that day. Do you know what I mean?
Right, but...
And so, wait, I'm getting to that,
Sorry about
okay?
that. Okay.
So I look at this, and I think it is truly a position that a woman is forced to sacrifice the things, and women by nature are more gentle and more sensitive. I'm not talking about everybody, okay? And I know it's a broad brush to paint with, but men in this, particularly in this society that we're living in now, are put in a position that they have to step up and be the man and be tough. And do you know what I mean? And women all have to look. They stepped off a runway, and they were supermodels before.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
No,
let me just finish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry.
So this is something that a woman has to sacrifice. I want to say, a sense of self for the betterment of millions and millions of people. Okay, and to sacrifice that any even remote ability to be sensitive, or God forbid you should ever hear any woman in political office say, that hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to be as tough as the men, but they have to look pretty in a dress. Okay, I mean, do you remember the fiasco over Hillary Clinton wearing pantsuits?
I think so. I remember something like that.
I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. The critique is 1,000 times harsher for women. Being smart enough, and Hillary Clinton's a brilliant woman, okay? But being smart enough to be able to manage all the disrespect, the questioning of, and the constant challenge of, really, are you smart enough to handle this? You don't see that with a lot of men.
Well, actually, something my father once told me. He said that men are women outdo men in like academics usually. That's usually the way it works. But I think he told me that men are more likely to take risks than women. I also think, this is one thing I'm going to say, a lot of these women who they get thrown into the spotlight, I don't think they ever saw themselves as being president. They said that Sarah Palin thought Africa was a country. Did you know that?
She thought what?
Africa was a country. Africa. The continent Africa. She thought it was a country. Did you know that?
Honey, this is the woman that could see Russia from her porch. Really?
Yeah, it was like she thought Africa was a country, and I think honestly, this is what
Well, that's okay. Trump thinks there's 57 states in the United States.
Actually, that was Obama that said that.
No.
But what I was going to say is that I would make. This is what I would do. I've heard some people give their opinions on this. I would make the Secretary of State and the Vice President have the same job because you would never first of all, the Secretary of State is in line to be president, and secondly, you wouldn't have the Secretary of State be somebody for the job Secretary of State who thinks that Africa is a country. I mean, you wouldn't do that. I mean, you wouldn't.
I'm sorry.
but it just, in my opinion, the vice president should be someone who you don't have to give a geography lesson to.
Right.
I mean, you don't.
You would hope not.
I think that vice president should be someone who says, okay, well, there's I don't think you have to know all the well, I don't know if you've dealt with the ambassadors, that's fine, but like to think that Africa is a country and to think that now I know this is one thing I'm going to say though. Okay, I do think that sometimes you can get in that public life and have a learning disability, and you can make some silly little mistakes, like Dan Quayle and the whole potato thing.
Oh, I know.
A dyslexic could probably make that mistake. Okay, that I'm.
Yeah, but no, does stupid count?
No, I agree with you.
Thank you.
There are other things that he could. There's other things that that are, like, for instance, I'm thinking that now this spelling potato, I can forgive that. Thinking the Holocaust happening in our country, that's pretty stupid. Or thinking that, the problem is that if they...
And I'm sorry, climate denial? Really?
Well, see, in my opinion, I think this is what I found. I found that I don't have a problem with politicians who have learning disabilities. I have a problem when they deny it.
Exactly.
It's like it'd be like me saying, if somebody is profoundly dyslexic, and there are some very, very smart people who are dyslexic. I had
Absolutely.
a teacher in college. He had 2 PhDs, not 1 PhD, 2 PhDs, and he was dyslexic.
My sister spoke 7 languages and was severely dyslexic. She couldn't balance her own checkbook.
Yeah, it to me, I don't have a problem with politicians who do that.
Me either.
I do think that there are I think Dan Quayle is probably dyslexic. I do think he never really admitted that. I think Sarah Palin probably was.
I think she drank the same Kool-Aid that Trump drank. I'm smarter than everyone else, and I don't need to read or learn anything.
Well, that is true. Now, but thinking that Africa is a country and thinking that, first of all, that's really stupid to think that Africa is a country. It's a continent, not a country.
Thank you.
And
you took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say.
And I think this is another thing. I think
there's no cure for stupid, Jonathan.
Yeah, they asked her about England, and she made a comment that, well, I'm willing to listen to the policies of the Queen or something like that.
Oh, my God, she's so stupid.
Now, first of all, we know, does the phrase reign, not rule, mean anything?
Right.
Okay.
Well, see, there you go again, being picky.
Yeah, it reign, not rule is what it is. The Queen does not rule. It's actually Tony Blair that did that.
Right.
But
she didn't even know there was a Tony Blair. Let's face it.
Well, it's just that in my opinion. Now, that's why I don't know. What do you think about making the Vice President and the Secretary of State have the same job?
I think it's too much.
Yeah, but
no, I'm serious. You're asking me what I think, and
okay.
I think it's too much, Jonathan. I think it's
really?
Too much. Yes, because I think they have similar yet different job descriptions. And I think there is a need for those things to be divided, because you're not talking about a small office with 6 people in it, a small company. You're talking about an enormous amount of responsibility.
Well, I get that, but why do we have vice presidents who think that, people who are going to up for the job of vice president who think Africa is a country
But Jonathan, she wasn't my pick. Okay, I couldn't tell you, except, and God rest John McCain's soul. For whatever reason he picked her. I'm sure it had something to do with.
Do you know what
screaming.
He wanted? Do you know who he wanted? Oh, you didn't know that?
Well, I'm sorry. No, I don't.
Okay, Joe Lieberman.
Oh yes, I do remember that. You're absolutely right.
He apparently him and Joe Lieberman. I think what it is.
They were best friends.
Well, they were best friends, but I think another reason is they both had a reputation for going across the aisle.
Yes.
And Joe Lieberman, I remember I was watching an interview with him, and it's like I've heard Republicans say, if I was a Democrat, I would love Joe Lieberman because Joe is just.
I remember very clearly. I just saw a whole piece on the two of them. You're absolutely right. It was him.
I mean, it would have been good actually to have.
But you have to remember, you're talking about people that are moderate thinking politicians, regardless of what party.
Yeah. See, what happened was this is what happened. Okay, John McCain wanted Joe Lieberman, but his advisors said.
I remember. That's where the pressure came in.
Right. I don't know. And then I said, okay. Well, let's keep it quiet until the convention, and then we'll pick Joe Lieberman. Well, it got out, and so they said, and if the movie is accurate, then this shows a really stupid campaign. No offense to John McCain, because it shows them typing into Google now. Trying to look for a woman. And I'm thinking, you do not type into Google.
I'm sorry.
Really? For a woman. I think one of them was governor of Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you just don't do that. The reason I don't think you should do that is that you should just know who these people are.
But Jonathan, not only should you know, but there needs to be a heightened awareness of the entire political environment and who would be best suited, because at the end of the day, they are running as partners on the same ticket. Okay.
Oh, and by the way, this is another thing. I saw this. It was from the movie Game Changer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, what happened was Todd signed up for. They said that Todd Palin was part of an organization that was in favor of annexing Alaska from the United States.
Which wouldn't surprise me at all.
Actually, I know, but you're going to get a real big chuckle out of it, because part of the movie, when they confronted her about it, you know what her explanation was?
I'm afraid to ask.
She said that Todd filled out the wrong box.
Oh, my God. Well, duh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. It goes back to what I said earlier. There is no cure for stupid.
Go see the movie Game Changer, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean,
I will.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. They say she's a creationist. I think that, in my view, see, the thing about evolution, okay, and this is the only thing I'm going to say, is that...
Are we going backwards instead of forwards? That is kind of what this is looking like.
What do you mean?
In evolution.
Oh, well, what I was going to say is I think a lot of times, a lot of people, evolution, when it happened, it changed everything. It changed how science worked. It changed how biology worked. It changed how chemistry worked. The problem is that unless you're an expert in everything, you can't possibly see how evolution affected everything. The one major proof of evolution that I've seen is that all of the sciences say evolution is true.
Yes.
If any of those sciences were to disagree, that's all it would take. Just all you would need to prove it false would be to just take one of those sciences. If you were to disprove evolution, you would win a Nobel Prize in every science. They would give you a Nobel Prize in biology. They would give you a Nobel Prize in chemistry. They would give you a Nobel Prize in astronomy, because all of a sudden you've proven the universe is 5,000 years old, and there is
climate change.
Yeah, and I think that I'd like to see, but I mean, that's what Sarah Palin said. She's like, Todd clicked the wrong box.
Oh my God!
Come on, that is just so. I mean, you did it wrong when you filled out the form.
It's outrageously ridiculous.
And there was this one where they when I remember when they did a Saturday Night Live skit where it was Will Ferrell was praying George Bush, and
right.
he was saying, I don't know if you saw this or not. He goes, "Well, I'm George W. Bush, and I'm here to give John McCain what every Republican wants, an endorsement for president from George W. Bush." So he brings out John McCain, and then he says, "Now, I just want to say something to you. On Election Day, when you are voting for John McCain, I want you to see this face," and he points to his face. "A vote for me is a vote for John McCain, is a vote for George Bush. Vote for George McCain is a vote for George Bush. When you're in the voting booth, I want you to see his face."
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
And like John McCain was like, "Get off the stage." Vote for John McCain is a vote for George Bush. Don't for John McCain.
Oh my God, is that funny?
Yeah, that was so funny. I mean, I think that honestly, I do think though that probably another reason why I think Hillary lost was because it's been typically when there's been 8 years of one party in power, they tend to change.
Boy, is that a bit? If that is the reason, that's a really sad reason. Wouldn't you hope that and I have to say, I think that it should be the best person that is most well equipped for the job, and let me just finish. And what the top criteria needs to be diplomacy.
The ability to relate,
play
to
well with others, and work with other cultures and other nations, other people that are different than you are. Because the truth is, if there was no such thing as immigration and the United States were not the United States, none of us would be here. None of us. Because if you look at it, all of our ancestors came from someplace else.
Yeah, our country was formed because people wanted to get out of another country.
Wherever that was. And I'm sorry, if someone judges us because of the color of our skin, they're broken. Whoever that person is broken, because at the end of the day, I've been very blessed, Jonathan, to live all over the world. In countries I didn't speak the language. I went to a school where I was the only white kid there, and you know what? I was the only one that didn't notice. And to this day, I'm still friends with one of the guys I went to junior high school and high school with. And it's like, you know what? Is that the criteria? How sad.
Yeah.
You know, if those are the things that are going to define somebody's qualifications, I feel sorry for whoever feels that way. They need to get a passport and travel a little, or go somewhere outside of their hometown that has 9 people in it, you know?
Now, we have about a minute left, but I mean, I have a question. In 2020, I mean, who do you see as a candidate?
Well, I don't right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. Is it Joe Kennedy?
What?
The young Kennedy?
Joe Kennedy? Do you see a woman as a possible for 2020? Or?
Not right now. Not right now.
Okay.
I wish that Hillary would run again. But I got to tell you, I don't think she is interested, because I don't think she trusts the system anymore.
Right. Well, it's great to have you on again. I hope we can do this again sometime. All right?
Absolutely. Okay, Jonathan. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.